Now Pedersen's a blast. Oh, that hit Provorov. Diving save. Hart as he flashes across. Briere sends up Carl. Side of the net. Deflected. Score! Briere moving in. Stops. Cuts to the middle. Still has a shot. Score! Here's Hughes giving it across. Oh, what a save! Save by Hart! He's an angle. Short-handed mid. He scores! Up top, cruising is Provorov. He scores! Ivan Provorov!
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Flyered Up Podcast. I'm your host, Amadeo Gracia, joined with my partner, as always, Christopher Mayer. Tyson was not able to join us tonight because this is going to be an emergency podcast, an emergency live stream here on TPL, TTP Sports, and Flyers Fan Mania 93, where we're always live streaming from. And if you do happen to miss the live stream podcast, we will also be posting it to Apple, Spotify, every other podcasting platform. Like I said, this is an emergency podcast because Christmas came early. We're in the Christmas spirit right now. If you look at our logo in the top corner, you see the little two schmucks right there with the Christmas hats. And because the NHL finally announced that they're going to start the season on January 13th. Hallelujah. Chris, I need a hallelujah right here.
Hallelujah. It's unbelievable. I was not expecting that to come today. As I'm sitting there, I'm about to flick on the Eagles game and I see NHL and NHL PR. I'm like, wait a second. And then I click my phone. I was like, oh my God. It finally came as we, saw the last few nights. There was a bunch of tweets and all that stuff about, all the stuff with the season, from the roster to the training camp date to what's going to happen on the end of the season, the playoffs, everything. But again, we really do, me and Amadeo are excited to start talking about this, and it's exciting with Christmas rolling around and everything. We both hope that you guys have a good holiday and a Merry Christmas. Hopefully we get some hockey soon, and we got the World Juniors coming up as it got kind of postponed a little bit, which we'll talk about that as well. But again, I'm excited to talk about this stuff now. Finally has some stuff in place too.
Oh, absolutely. It's just that it's just been so long till we actually got some actual news right here. We get little bits and pieces right there, but this is like actually full-fledged things. NHL actually announced something that's concrete. And it's like, okay, all the stress can go away. We can actually enjoy this now. It's a good holiday that the NHL is back. And honestly, it's not that long until the season starts. That's like 3-4 weeks away, January 13th. That's a very short time at this point.
Yeah, 24 days to be exact.
Yeah, it's going to be very special here on TPL too that we're going to be live streaming. We've been live streaming the Eagles games every single Sunday. Now with the Sixers starting up, we're going to be live streaming every single Sixers game. And now when the Flyers are going to be starting up, we're going to be live streaming every single Flyers home and road game. So it's going to be a very fun time here at the Flyered Up Podcast, very fun time here at the Painted Lines. So continue to stay with us for all of that great stuff and just getting into all of this talk with the start of the regular season. There's so much to discuss, so I'm going to share my screen right now. So the one thing that's the biggest is the division alignment right now. I feel like is there still talks going on with the Canadian government, with some of the provinces still discussing their COVID-19 issues with the NHL, Chris? Is that still an issue right now, or is that like all resolved?
It is. The one thing they are talking about, this is a tweet here from Frank Saravalli, from 4:36 this afternoon. He said there's been a lot of focus on British Columbia health officials not signing off on NHL's protocols, but hearing that Providence is not alone. Both Ontario and Quebec have also not signed off for the Habs, Leafs, and Senators to host games. Talks expected to continue early this week, so hopefully that can be resolved. If not, you might see some Canadian teams having to drip south of the border, going to the United States, and if that happens, then there's not going to be a Canadian division, and there's most likely going to be, a whole nother realignment if that is the case. If not, they might have to share arenas, like we might see San Jose share with Arizona this year, as they're in the same division in the West now, and that could be something as well, because they have to switch, because as we know with the 49ers in the NFL, they were shipped out to Arizona for a couple games, and now they're completely out there for the rest of the season. So that might be the case with the Sharks too. I don't know. But overall, I think it's going to get straightened out. I don't really think it can be. I hope it's not just a lingering problem that they have. That stuff isn't just delayed just because of one or two things, which would suck. But again, I think it. I'm really hoping it's going to get resolved in these next few days. I personally think it will too.
Yeah, I absolutely think it's going to be resolved too. It's just like they have the plan set. It's just getting a little bit of these bumps in the road out, mainly just revolving around the Canadian government issue. I know last time I heard it was like a bunch of like, I know I'm not sure if like these rumors were true. It was like every province was agreeing on it, but then one province wasn't. But now all these other talks that are circling up, it's crazy stuff right now. But I feel like it will be settled out hopefully in the next few days or so. But these are what the divisions are looking like right now as of what the NHL stated. So you got your Northern Division, which is going to be all the Canadian teams. You got the Flames, you got the Oilers, Canadiens, Senators, Maple Leafs, Vancouver Canucks, Jets. That's your whole Canadian division for now if everything stays put. You got your Western Division, you got the Ducks, the Coyotes, the Avalanche, the Kings, the Wild, the San Jose Sharks, the Blues, the Golden Knights. Then you get your Central Division, which it's a little bit confusing because it mixes a little bit of the Eastern Conference teams in there. You get the Hurricanes, you got the Blackhawks, the Blue Jackets, the Stars, the Red Wings, the Panthers, the Predators, and the Lightning, which is basically this division crying for the Lightning to completely destroy it because there's a lot of teams in this division that are tanking, i.e. the Chicago Blackhawks and the Detroit Red Wings. So that's a division right there for Tampa Bay. If you look at the Eastern Conference, which is basically the toughest division right here, you can argue literally every single team besides the Devils are a playoff contender. You got the Bruins, the Sabres, the Devils, both New York teams and the Islanders and the Rangers, the Flyers, the Penguins, and the Capitals. And Chris, wouldn't you agree that the Eastern Division is probably going to be the toughest division out of all of these?
Yeah, I don't really know who wouldn't agree with that. I mean, you have Boston, who's a top team every year. You have Pittsburgh and Washington, who have been top three in the Metro since 2015. The Islanders and Rangers, who, again, the Islanders going to the conference final. Really, the only bad team here is probably New Jersey, as they're pretty much in rebuilding / retooling, whatever you want to call it, state. And even Buffalo can make a chance for the playoffs. I mean, they signed Taylor Hall in the season. They have a pretty good top six, not bad bottom six. I think they're definitely a sleeper team. So really, 7 out of these 8 teams can make the playoffs. Obviously, we know with the Flyers how good of a season they had last year, and that Central Division. Oh my God, it really just looks like because at last minute they switched Minnesota and Dallas. I wonder if that was for the TV to have them the Lightning play Dallas 8 times with all that stuff. That could have been something. I don't know. I have to think that might have factored in. Because again, if this is all going to be on TV and they might not have in person for a while, that could be something. I like the West, to be honest. I think there's a couple good teams in there. I honestly think San Jose can make the playoffs this year. You might call me nuts, but I think in that division, they're probably the 4. To be honest with you, I really don't know who else. I mean, maybe I think them in Minnesota. I think it's probably going to be the Avs, Blues, and Knights, and that's probably it. Those are probably your top 3. Could be in that order. I'm not sure. I mean, it's tough. I mean, the Avs and the Knights are very 2 close teams, and then obviously I think the Canadian division is a good division too. I'm curious to see like just going off the Canadian, who do you think is going to take number 1 there? I honestly think it's probably going to be Toronto.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. It's just like there's a lot of teams that are just like they're not like to this top level. Like the only team you can say that's close to that top level is Toronto. But then you have a lot of maybe like teams that you would consider tweeners, maybe like Montreal, maybe in Edmonton, maybe at Calgary. Vancouver, I would say, probably would finish around the 2nd or 3rd place spot. You can also factor in Vancouver. All teams aren't bad, but it's just like
they're all like
out of the bunch.
Yeah, because there isn't like a clear-cut winner like the Central with Tampa, or the West with the Avs or the Knights, or even in the East with the Flyers and Boston. I think it's kind of a very even division. I think it really is going to matter just on who's in each division. I mean, I don't know. I mean, overall, I think it's tough because, you have so many teams that are just like so, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a way to describe it. Just like, I don't know. Just kind of like, so like they're not like good, but they're not like great. I don't know. I really don't know where I'm going with this. But
that is a topic right there. But it's just like, who do you like? To me, like I said, like we both said, actually, Toronto out of that Canadian division is honestly the best. But then, like, where do you go from there? Do you go Vancouver? Do you choose Winnipeg? Do you choose Edmonton, Calgary, Montreal? It's just like it's basically pick or choose at this point, honestly. The only team you really could consider out of it is Ottawa, just because they're a very young team. They're just not there, I guess, at that stage right now to compete, but you never know. But really, the only team that I do count out is Ottawa. But like I said, it's pick or choose with the other teams besides Toronto, in my opinion.
I don't really count out Ottawa as much because of some of the improvements being made. I think they're going to be better, but not great. I think they might. Honestly, I think the worst team here is probably Winnipeg.
I can see that.
I mean, just from looking at it, and I mean, I don't really know who else could. Well, I mean, I shouldn't really say that. I mean, I don't really think Montreal's too good either. I mean, they made some improvements, but who really knows if any of that's going to help? I mean, they were still terrible regardless of that roster they had last year. So
it's tough to say. If you look at the Western Division, it's like what you said. Mainly, the top 3 seeds are going to be the Golden Knights, the Blues, and the Avalanche. But then, like, because for these playoffs for each division, it's going to be the top 4 teams from each division that makes the playoffs. So, like, who do you choose as the 4th team in the Western Division? Do you go with Minnesota?
San Jose.
Do you go with one of the California? It's tough.
I'm going San Jose because I look at it like this. Like, I don't think the Wild are that good, and I think San Jose is more offensive talent than the Wild do. To be honest with you, I think the Wild are kind of old. I mean, I kind of look at it like San Jose is still a younger team. They still have very good defense. I mean, their goaltending isn't great. Yeah. They don't have Jones anymore, right? They have Dubnyk.
They have Jones and Dubnyk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
a little bit better.
That's why I'm still questioning because they're Jones. He hasn't been good the past few seasons. Same thing.
Dubnyk is good. Like, I think Dubnyk is good, but he's just streaky. He's a very streaky goaltender. And Stalock, I think, is huge with Minnesota.
Yes.
And who is Minnesota's backup? Why can't I remember that?
I think it's Talbot.
Talbot.
Honestly, I think Stalock is going to miss time too. I think Talbot's going to be the goaltender to start the season for the Wild.
Yeah. And they also have Kirill Kaprizov too.
They do.
They have some solid prospects that could play. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's tough in that division. I mean, we obviously know LA, Arizona, and Anaheim are just like those guys just stink. And especially Arizona. I mean, that's just the whole dumpster fire. Los Angeles is getting there, but still 3-4 years behind. Anaheim, I don't even know how to describe that. Like, that's just bad.
Anaheim, they're just in like
they have one of the best goaltenders in the league, and their team just stinks.
Yep.
Like, they just suck. Like, Gibson's a phenomenal goaltender.
They're too old. That's basically what it is.
Yeah. I mean, the majority of their core guys are older. I mean, they don't have Perry anymore. Still have Getzlaff. Ricardo Rakell's a good player. They have some young talent.
They have some young talent, but like right now they're like, is it like that young talent to where it's going to be like a game changer for them, like for the franchise? You just never know. Yeah. You don't know at this point.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's so tough because we don't watch these teams every night, so we have no idea. I mean, some teams probably look at the Flyers like, oh, they're a one-hit wonder again. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm serious, you know, and that's kind of how I look at the Central too, because like I could see some of these teams maybe falling off a little bit. Like, I don't really know if Columbus is going to be that bad again, you know, and I don't think Columbus was that bad. I mean, they could be better. They're probably going to be the 4th team. Them and Nashville are going to fight for that. I mean, I'm not too sure. I mean, it's tough because Columbus was hurt. I mean, they had a lot of injuries. And when the Flyers would play them, I mean, when the Flyers got them when they were hurt, I mean, they had a lot of guys injured in some of those games. The Kevin Hayes overtime winner, they had like 8 or 9 guys out that game. I think the 5-1 win at home when they played them, they had a lot of guys out that game too.
They only played them 3 times that season because of the lockout, because of the shortened season due to COVID.
Who, the Blue Jackets?
Yeah, the Flyers only played them 3 times.
No, it's 4 times.
They played them 4.
They played them in November.
They
beat them twice on the road. Beat them in overtime on the road. They won 3-2 on the road, and then they blew them out twice at home. And the one game was the crazy comeback. Anyway,
it was.
Yeah, Chicago is obviously rebuilding, but they still have. I mean, they're not going to really be trying to do anything. But this obviously you still have Cannon and Taves and everybody else. You're still going to try to do something.
It's funny too because the team admitted they were rebuilding.
Yeah, I know, but it makes me think, like, are they actually going to try to lose? Like, it makes me think how many games the Red Wings are going to win this year.
Oof.
If it's less games, if they only won like 17 and 82, that means what, like 9 and 56? If my math is right.
I don't think the Red Wings are going to lose that little many games in a 56 game season. I think they're going to be a little bit better. They're still going bad, but they're not going to be maybe a little bit better.
Dude, Jonathan Bernier is their starting goaltender.
Yeah, he is.
They
did
good at all.
Too. They did get Grice.
They did get Grice. That is a good point. I forgot. That's who Grice went to. I couldn't remember. See, this shit's so damn long ago. I don't even remember anymore. It's just so aggravating. It's like, what the hell? But
that's what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that division too. Like, Florida's a good team, and they did just sign Anthony Duclair the other day.
They did. They got to rely if Bobrovsky can live up to his contract, like he didn't do it last year.
I think he's going to have a bounce back year. I think that's the one thing in that division that might scare some people is that he might. I think he's going to have a bounce back year.
Yeah,
but then again, it's like their defense isn't great. Like, they don't have good. I think that might have been a part of it. I mean, Bobrovsky gave up some soft goals. I mean, he just did not look like himself. But some of the games were just like, what the hell, you know? I mean, overall, I think it's still a good division, but easily the hardest division is the East. I don't see any argument there. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, literally, like we said in the beginning, you can argue that every single team, probably besides the Devils, can fight for a playoff spot in this division. You got Boston. They're still, even though they lost Chara and they lost Torrey Krug, they're still a very
they still have the perfection line. They still have everybody else. Bergeron, Pasternak, David Krejci, Jake DeBrusk. I can't even think of who's on the roster anymore. Charlie Coyle. I mean, they have really good players over there in Boston. I got a question for you with this division. Who is your top four?
That's tough.
In what order?
That is tough.
You want to hear mine?
Yes, I would like to hear you first.
The Flyers, the Bruins, the Islanders, the Capitals. I got the Penguins at 5, the Rangers at 6, the Sabres at 7, and then the Devils at 8.
That is tough. That is very tough.
I can't see the Flyers not getting first place. I can't. I just can't.
Because if you look at last season, a lot of teams that were in the Metropolitan Division that are in this division, the Flyers played very well against. Yeah. Really, the only team they didn't play well against was the Islanders. The Flyers beat the season series against the Devils. They beat the season series against Boston, Buffalo, the Rangers. They tied. I think they lost the season series to Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh won 2 games, but the Flyers went 1-1, and they beat the season series against the Capitals. So it's tough. I honestly. Even though the Flyers lost Matt Niskanen, they really didn't lose anywhere else. They're basically the same exact team.
And you can also even add that same team. You lose one player. You can also add maybe a healthy Nolan Patrick and a fully healthy Oscar Lindblom. You can even add a young Morgan Frost. Possibly. So I mean the depth on this Flyers team is just unbelievable. I mean, from line 1 to 4, if they even, and honestly, now I think about it, they might not even have set lines this year. And I'm not saying like over each team, I'm saying for the Flyers, like, are they really going to have a line that's like your first line? Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, the first line's out there. Like, because they switched the line so damn much. Like, do you even think they're going to do that or no?
Because guys like Couturier and Kevin Hayes, those guys are going to get like the first and second center line role. It's just, Drew's most likely going to be playing top forward minutes as well. It's just and
most of them the switch. Yeah, I mean, majority of the time the wings switch half the time. And honestly, just going off of it too. I mean, just to go off your point against how good the Flyers were against these teams, they went 13-5-3 against all these teams combined.
Yes, the
only team they didn't win against was against New York, but they won 3 games against them in the playoffs, which was even shorter ago. So again, I think they have a good shot to win this year. I mean, but it can't just be, we think they can win. They gotta show it. I mean, they haven't had the greatest starts and seasons really in the last recent years. So, and there's no preseason games this year. They gotta get right off the hop, because if they don't, they're gonna be fighting. And you don't have a lot. It's not like you have those months and in February and March where you can pick up ground again. Like that's not going to happen, you know. And especially with everything with the season and how it's shorter games too. So
and also if you look at this division too, you can also just talk about the goaltending as well.
Oh my God,
Boston, you got Yaroslav Halak. Buffalo, you got Hutton, you got Olmark. Like they're probably, I would say, maybe close to the weakest goaltending tandem possibly in the East Division. The Devils, you got Blackwood, and you got, who did they sign in the offseason? It was Crawford. They signed Crawford in the offseason. With the Islanders, it's going to be Varlamov and Sorokin, their goaltender that's coming over from overseas. They're stating he's going to be the next big thing for the Islanders. The Rangers, they got Shesterkin and most likely Georgiev as their tandem. The Flyers, same thing, Elliott and Hart. With the Pittsburgh Penguins, it's going to be Jari, and who would be their backup?
DeSmith?
Maybe.
I don't think it's DeSmith unless they sign somebody.
Yeah, like Pittsburgh right now, it's, to me, like the weakest goaltending tandems probably in this division are Buffalo and Pittsburgh.
I think the Flyers are the best goalie tandem in this division.
And then you go with
Washington. And Moose.
Then you go Washington. They have Ilya Samsonov, but then they just lost Hendrik Lundqvist, who sadly couldn't play this season because of a heart condition. So now are they going to go to Copley as their backup now for Samsonov?
I wouldn't be surprised if they sign somebody.
They might. Who knows? I think Ryan Miller's still in the market. Maybe
that would be a great pick. That'd be great. I mean, if you're putting Lundqvist with Samsonov, why wouldn't you put Ryan Miller? That's probably the next best guy for a veteran goaltender for them to put.
Exactly.
I think that's a great signing for them if they were to do that. I personally think the Flyers are the best goaltending tandem in this division. The second's easily Boston.
Yeah.
The third, I would probably say it's Pittsburgh. 4, I would probably say Washington. I'd say 5 is probably probably the Islanders, and then the Rangers, and then probably Buffalo then last. But I mean, I don't know. It's tough because so many people. I don't know if you saw the thing on Twitter. Everybody was saying that Sorokin and Askarov are better than Carter Hart right now.
Sorokin has not played an NHL game yet. Askarov has not played an NHL. He just got drafted.
They haven't even played NHL games. That might be the and what annoyed me the most was Hart's. They said literally, quote unquote, Hart's easily 4. Who in their right mind? Like, wait,
easily.
He's easily 4th out of it was out of Shesterkin, Sorokin, and Askarov, and Carter Hart. Who would you rather have? And most of the votes it was like a 68% Carter Hart out of the 4 of them. And there was a bunch of people saying, "Oh, well, he's easily 4." I'm like, "Are you nuts? Or like, do you watch the same game I do, or no?" Like, I don't really understand what else you want us to do at 22 years old. I mean, he's pretty much won every junior award you could probably think of for a young goaltender.
I like this comment right here. Chris is pissed, which is very understandable.
Oh my God. It aggravates me. It literally makes me want to rip my hair out. It pisses me off. It does. That's a great point, Sean. It does. It does piss me off.
To me, this entire thing just sounds like what the New Jersey Devils fans do, how they really Mackenzie Blackwood is a really good goaltender. He is, but they overhype the damn guy.
Mm-hmm. They say he's older than Hart.
He got drafted a year before Hart, and Hart played before him.
And he's older than him.
Yes.
He's older than him.
And everyone's saying, oh, because Mackenzie Blackwood has such better stats on a bad team. So?
They're a bad team.
They're a bad team.
Yeah. Blackwood has to make so many good... I mean, that guy has to make so many crazy saves. Hart doesn't need to. He's in position. He doesn't need to. There's only 3 highlight reel saves from Carter Hart. Versus New Jersey, versus Vancouver, and versus Colorado. That's it. They are probably the only ones that I could honestly think of. Yeah. I honestly have to go back and look. But those are the ones that you think of a highlight reel save. Those are the 3.
Kenzie Blackwood probably has more highlight reel saves because he plays in behind such a terrible team.
Yeah. I mean, like, the Devils are just in shambles. I mean, it's just ridiculous at this point. You know what? I'm going to ask you this. Do you think there's a narrative that just because that player is from Philadelphia, everybody will bet against them?
Probably.
I 100% stand by that. You hear it with Giroux, you hear it with Voracek, you hear it with obviously Carter Hart, you hear it with Provorov with being a top defenseman,
probably,
and you hear it with Couturier from a few years back. Now he finally wins Selke. Yeah, Patrick. With the young guys, I mean, you can go all the way back into Flyers history with some of these guys. Hextall, Lindros. Yes, I mean it's just like it's ridiculous at this point. I just don't understand how you could honestly sit there and say that three guys who have played not even 20 games combined in the NHL, the three of them combined have not played over 20 games in the NHL. And you're saying that a kid who's already played a full season in a starting role as an NHL goaltender,
a full season and a half, and he's played 2 rounds worth of playoff games.
Right. He's eighth in franchise playoff wins. And he hasn't even played 2 full seasons. It is like I don't understand what it is anymore.
And no one watched the games 3 and 4 against Montreal, where Carter Hart was the sole reason the Flyers won those 2 games.
He stole the show. He dominated. He's one of the reasons they went so far.
Yes,
because he was a phenomenal. He had 49 saves in Game 6. 49. Like it just pisses me off. I'm sorry.
God, it's like this conversation could go on but I do want to bring some comments into here that have been coming on since the beginning. Renee, he's a loyal supporter. He's always commenting on these live streams. Thank you for joining. Mark saying, let's get fired up. Definitely. Thank you for joining the stream. We got Anderson right here talking about Anaheim is the older team that is a train wreck. I honestly would agree with that. And Anderson they're talking about Scrapple over here in the comments. I could talk about Scrapple. I think it's a nice breakfast side dish that actually does sound very delicious.
Ew. Oh my God. Can we get on that topic for a minute?
No.
Please?
No.
All right. Well, let's revisit it at the end because Scrapple is terrible. And we will get into that, but go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have another comment right here from Anderson. He has, who do you have going to the playoffs in the East? Chris did bring up his top 4. I honestly did not do it yet because we got into this Carter Hart discussion right here.
I was livid. Sorry.
It's fine. It makes for perfect content right here. So
content. Perfect content.
It's perfect content. So we honestly, if I'm going within the Eastern Division right now, I do think the Flyers overall, they're probably the best team in this division. Then I would maybe slot Boston 2, Islanders maybe 3. The 4th place spot is really tough for me. It's between Pittsburgh and Washington, in my opinion.
I said Washington.
Yeah, I'll go Washington too. But it's just like it's not going to be like much separation. It's going to be very neck and neck because you can't count out Crosby and Malkin. Can't count out Ovechkin
and Kuznetsov or Backstrom. I mean, Samsonov is a good goaltender too, but so is Tristan Dry. I think they're really even teams. You also have to put into factor that the Caps also got Justin Schultz.
Yes.
Which is a very good addition to their top 4. Still have Brendan Dillon, still obviously have John Carlson. I think their defense have honestly got better, and they still have Radko Gudas, which is a shame. I think they do, don't they?
Yeah, they still
have Gudas, right?
I think so. Or did he go? No. Did he go somewhere else?
Gudas from Florida, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he did. That's how long it's been. We're forgetting things.
I'm losing my mind.
We are losing our mind. We have more comments right here. Mark talking about the main concern for the Flyers honestly should be how streaky they can be hot and cold. That honestly was a thing. They were a little bit streaky last year, but more of the streak. It was
short period time streaky though. It wasn't like a long time. Like the worst stretch they played was
that Western Conference road trip.
And then when Lindblom was literally from when Lindblom was diagnosed with cancer until the end of the month, maybe first week of January. It wasn't really long, but then they won a couple games in a row there and then lost a few and then ended up winning more. So really the only time they were streaky was the playoffs when there was a 4-month, span where they didn't touch the ice. So I don't know if they were streaky, but they were. Not too much though.
Yeah. And we have another comment right here from my God, and he's talking about how Mackenzie Blackwood and Corey Crawford, they're a tandem that can be slept on. That definitely is a topic right here. I think they are probably one of the better goaltending tandems in the division. It's just the team in front of the Devils. That's the team in front of those goaltenders. Is it going to be good enough for them? That's the thing. I'm not arguing against the goaltenders. I'm arguing against the entire team in front.
Yeah, that's my argument too. I don't think their defense is that good.
Yes.
And honestly, now that I think about that, is Crawford going to accept a backup role?
That's tough too.
I mean, he pretty much did with Chicago, because when they had Leonard, he was pretty much a backup. So it's tough.
It really is tough. And you got more comments right here. Another one from Sean talking about when we were pissed about Carter Hart. When your voices jump a few octaves, he knows we're pissed.
Yeah.
And then he commented at 9:26 p.m. Chris is still pissed.
Oh man, yeah. It's 9:30 now. I think I kind of settled down a little bit, but
you'll probably get pissed again when we talk about the Scrapple for some god reason later. But
another
topic for another day.
Yeah.
So I guess moving away from the division right now, we have some other statements right here from the NHL Public Relations. So the way the playoff format is going to work for this year. So it's going to be from each division, it's going to be the top 4 teams. And the first 2 rounds, well, each round of the playoffs, it's going to be normal. It's going to be that 7-game series, same as usual. But the first 2 rounds, it's going to be from each first 2 rounds are going to be divisional. So it's going to be the first round, 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3. And then when you go into the second round, it's going to be whoever makes it out of the first round for each division. Then when you get into the third round of the playoffs, so the way they're going to work this is from every team that made it out of their division, they're going to reseed them once again as how they did during the regular season, their points-wise. So they'll be listed as 1, 2, 3, 4 for the third round, and then there's 4, 2 plays 3. And then whoever wins out of those rounds will go to the Stanley Cup Finals. That's the way the playoffs are going to work. At first, it sounds very confusing, but then it just sounds like, okay, this is basically how the playoffs used to work. Honestly, the reseeding. So it's just that there's no Eastern Conference, there's no Western Conference. It's just divisions. That's how it's going to work this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny too. You know, I look at this and it's like, for my estimate, the Flyers would play the Capitals and the Bruins would play the Islanders. Those are 2 good matchups. And honestly, if you go back to the division thing, who do you think would be the top 4 in those other 3?
If we look back at these other divisions, if you look back at these other divisions, the Canadian, I see, like I said, we said in the beginning, Toronto is probably going to be the top team. And then like I said, it's pick or choose. I might go Vancouver 2, Calgary 3, maybe Montreal or Edmonton at 4. You there, Chris?
Yeah, I'm kind of losing you a little bit. You just were completely frozen. My North Division would pretty much be Toronto at 1. I'd say Vancouver 2, Edmonton 3, and probably Calgary 4. Winnipeg and Montreal or Montreal would probably be my 5. The West, I'd probably go Colorado, Vegas, St. Louis, San Jose is my 1 through 4, and then the Central is probably Tampa, Dallas. No, I'd probably say Tampa, Carolina, Dallas, and Nashville. Or, yeah, I'd probably say Nashville is the 4 there.
Yeah, so did you hear me when I said the Canadian division, or was that when I froze up for you?
You froze right at Vancouver. You're like Van, and your face was just like all like this, and it was just
yeah. So I said Toronto, Vancouver, and then I. Everything is just. Did you lose me again?
Yeah, it just doesn't want you to speak about the North Division here.
Oh boy. And people who are listening to this, these parts are definitely going to be edited out when we post it on Apple and stuff like that, so don't worry about that. So if we're talking about the Western Division, hopefully I don't cut out again. It's tough. Like I think it's going to be, honestly, I see Vegas at number 1, Colorado at 2, St. Louis at 3. The 4th place is weird. 4th place is a toss-up, like I said. I'm I'm going to go either Minnesota or Los Angeles. I'm going to be the crazy guy and say Los Angeles might be one of the teams. I'm just going to be that guy.
Oh, my Deo. Oh, my God. That's like saying Arizona would be a 3.
I just don't see San Jose as a good team. I just don't. I don't see it.
I don't know.
And then for the Central Division, Tampa Bay runs away with it. Then you probably put Carolina at 2. Honestly, Florida has a good season. I see them at 3, 4th place. It's honestly a 3-way toss-up between Columbus, Dallas, and Nashville, in my opinion. 3-way toss-up right there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I mean, it's tough. I mean, like there's a lot of stuff that factors in. I don't know. I'm really thinking Florida could be that 5. That 5 or 4 there. I mean, I don't know. It's hard because I don't remember who signed with these teams.
Yeah,
I forget.
Definitely when we get closer towards the season, we'll actually have like our thoughts set in stone. This is just like throwing the air thoughts in the bubble right now. That's
right. And I think over the next few days, we'll be doing season previews and stuff. And I know for my YouTube channel, I'll be doing some season, a full season preview for the Flyers, and hopefully we get some, the schedule release and the health and safety protocols and all that stuff coming in the next few days, because that is one thing they did say in the release here, is that it should be coming in the next few days, and things like that.
From what this one statement said right here, hopefully within the next few days. You just never know at this point.
I saw we got a comment here from Sean, who wins the East, damn it. I don't know if you were here, Sean, when we said this, but I said my top 4 for the East would be the Flyers, Bruins, Islanders, and Capitals. So would be my top 4.
And I said the same exact thing. I said the same exact thing.
Yeah. That's my top 4.
Yeah. And if lost me again.
Just put the picture down, man. Just cut it out.
Oh God! Blame Xfinity at this point. That's what I'm going on right here. Just blame Xfinity.
Can I call them right now?
No.
I'll be put on hold. I think by the time we would end this, they would probably pick up.
I would hope so. So basically, the discussions right now I would assume right now their goal is to get every team playing in their home arena. That's where I think the main goal is right now. Like what you talked about earlier, Chris, with San Jose might be playing in Arizona. We just don't know at this point. Those are the talks that still have to be talked about. So it's at this point, it's up in the air, I would say. What would you think, Chris?
All of it's going to get figured out in these next few days. But overall, I still think it's kind of a sticky situation because you have to factor in so much. And honestly, I feel like most teams probably aren't going to benefit from any of that. But I think it might, be something where it's like, it might be cool to see. I don't know. I mean, it's probably going to suck. I mean, this season's going to suck. I will say that. We're going to be playing the same teams all the time, and it's going to be like just boring. And I would hope that they maybe let fans come in at some point. If that's something, because we saw it a little bit with the Eagles. They had fans in there. I think it's harder though at Wells Fargo Center because it's indoors. It's not like they got an open roof. I mean, it's tough. I mean, the Eagles are so open. It's a little bit easier. But I would like them to maybe do the outdoor games. They haven't said anything about outdoor games being official, and it doesn't look like that's going to be anything this year, which sucks because that could have been something cool. They might have been able to get more money from it, and they probably would have shelled out a lot of money and probably would have gotten maybe a third of it back. And I think the main thing is if they could have, they would have had fans in there if they did. So it's tough.
To me, you just lost me again at this point. This is really getting annoying. I hate Xfinity because even I see myself on the screen just go black, and it's just like, oh God.
Yeah, I know. I am just not picking up what you're putting down here.
Oh boy,
this is just not bad.
Yeah, I guess we just got the late stage of the bad Xfinity connection tonight, sadly. So, Yeah, like I said, people who listen to this on Apple and stuff, this stuff will be edited out. You don't have to worry about me cutting out or anything like that.
And we do apologize for this, even though it's not necessarily our fault, but we still apologize.
Yeah, we definitely apologize for that. And if you look at, there's definitely a lot of important dates right now. So those dates right now have been confirmed, and hopefully I don't cut out right here, which will really make me mad. So we got right now training camps. The official training camps, they're going to open on January 3rd. But for the 7 teams who didn't make the playoffs, they're going to open on December 30th, December 30th right now. So for the 7 teams that didn't make the playoffs, they're going to open a couple days earlier. And then for everyone else, it'll be January 3rd. And then when you look at the regular season, that's going to start on January 13th. And the deadline to sign your restricted free agents, that is going to be on February 11th. So if your restricted free agents are not signed by then, they cannot play the rest of the season. So you got that right there. And then for your for the deadline for when contract extensions can start, that is March 12th. And then the trade deadline, that'll be April 12th. The end of the regular season, that'll be May 8th. The Seattle expansion draft, that'll be July 21st. And then literally these last 3 events, they're all within a little bit of a span of each other. So like I said, the expansion draft for Seattle, that's July 21st. The NHL draft, that's July 23rd and the 24th. And then free agency, that will open up on July 28th. So a lot of these dates, they're official right now. Really the only thing you got to worry about is where teams are going to be playing, which is most likely going to be their home arenas. Mm-hmm. It's just right now, everything's up in the air because there's still talks going about with the Canadian division and all that, with the Canadian provinces. If that somehow goes down the hole, do all the Canadian teams move back to the U.S., and you somehow have to realign the divisions once again? Those are still discussions that have to go on this week.
And another thing is, where the hell do those teams play?
Yes, that's going to be a definite. Do you just put them all in Arizona?
Weird.
Put them all in Arizona.
There's just a big bubble in Arizona. They have to change the ice every week with a different logo. Imagine having 8 goal horns in your own. They'd have to carry 9 teams: the Coyotes, the Sharks, and then the whole Canadian division. It'd be 9-team arena.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know if it does. Do the Phoenix Suns have the same arena as the Coyotes or no?
They do not.
That's the own Coyotes arena.
I think that arena, Gale River, whatever it's called, I think that is solely responsible for the Coyotes. I think the Suns, they play like closer to where the Diamondbacks play.
Okay. Yeah, I honestly had no idea because I don't follow sports in Arizona. But one thing is that they're supposed to have these like, what is it? Now I can't think of the topic. What the hell did I just want to say? I can't even think of it now. The 4 to 6 player taxi squads. That's what I wanted to bring up. It's going to be 23-man roster. I know you didn't bring this up yet. It's 23-man rosters for this year. So you have, obviously you have 5 more players. You also have this squad that you carry along with you that gets paid AHL salary. So it's 4 to 6 AHL players you can bring. And all teams this year are mandatory, have to carry 3 goaltenders. So it's going to be Hart, Moose, and Alex Lyon, which makes sense too, and also helps out the AHL because you have Sandstrom, Moose, Domingo can work down there with the Phantoms. If not, I know Sandstrom was playing overseas with HV71, or no, Brina, excuse me. As I go on. And another thing is that the NHL, they also talked about having a couple of these players where like you're able to use them and you can slip them into the lineup. They travel with the team, they practice with the team. So that is something to keep in mind of, but it makes me think, is Patrick on the roster or is he in this taxi squad? I think he's mostly going to be on the roster since he signed an NHL contract. So
that's what I would assume right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because we're going to see a lot of rookies this year, and that's not, it's pretty much by default, but it's not at the same time because you kind of see most of these guys where we saw a lot of rookies last year. I mean, Farabee, Frost, Horinsky, Bunneman, Kasha, Rubtsov. I mean, I could go on and on. I can't even think of Mark Friedman. We saw Igor Zamula in the playoffs. I'm trying, apparently someone said I'm drinking again in the comments.
Yeah, I just saw it right there. I just
I think that's pretty much all the rookies we saw. I can't really think of anybody else. But overall, I think a lot of these guys could make the roster. I mean, you still have, we talked about it last episode, last episode with Tyson, about Tanner Latsinski and Wade Allison too. Those guys can make the team this year. So I think there's a lot of question marks about who's actually on the roster. But overall, I think it's going to be a good roster for the Flyers this year.
And the one thing that is I'm trying to think of right now is that for the taxi squad, do players that are on the taxi squad, would that count against the cap, or do they get taken off the cap? How does that work out?
Well, it's AHL contract, so it does.
Okay.
But
because it was like, I was wondering that, like, right now, like for players that, or like teams that have bad contracts right now, I would think, would they try to abuse the taxi squad, maybe throw some of their bad contracts on there so they don't go against the cap? Like, that's what I'm thinking of right there too.
So this is probably what you're thinking. This is what it is. So this is just from my Instagram post I made the other night. Again, no exhibition games. We talked about that. So more scrimmages in camp and things like that. Since it's a 10-day camp, or probably like a 9-day camp, you'll be seeing a bunch of more scrimmage games and stuff within the teams. We talked about those things. So the teams have the option to toll, with quote unquote toll, which is to carry over the contracts of the player opt-outs. So it would be a 29 max then. You can have 29 max players for the year. Players can opt out of the season. It looks like the contract is not going to be used against the team's cap. Again, this is from Friday night. So this stuff could have been updated, but was subject to change. And pretty much the salary cap is still at $81.5 million. The other stuff we kind of already talked about, who the Flyers would play, the top 4 in each, and pretty much that's pretty much it. But overall, another thing is too, we know the puck drops January 13th. The trade deadline this year is April 12th. End of the regular season is May 8th. The expansion draft for the Seattle Kraken is July 21st. The NHL draft is July 23rd and 24th. What are you laughing at? It's something stupid in the comments.
No, it's just like what I'm thinking of those last 3 dates. It's just like, why are they so close to each other? Because remember when they did the Vegas expansion draft, like that was combined with the NHL awards. Like, are they going to do the same exact thing again with the NHL awards and do the expansion draft, or is it going to be the separate things?
I don't know. It could be. But yeah, the NHL draft is the 23rd, 24th, and then the free agency frenzy is July 28th. And also the NHL draft is this year. They're looking to have an in-person draft, so they're not even looking at virtual first, which I think is a good sign. And I feel like most of it is going to be in-person stuff. They're going to try to make everything in person.
Yeah, that's where some of my little bit of optimism comes in, because once you start getting closer towards the playoffs, maybe when you start getting in towards that spring area when the weather is getting warmer, maybe that's when you start maybe pushing a little bit of some fans being brought back into the arena, even though like the vaccine and stuff like that, it's like slowly coming out in its little spurts, but that's another topic for another day. But maybe eventually, maybe once you get maybe halfway towards the season, maybe like,
oh, Amadeo, you're completely frozen again.
oh God. So basically going towards the part like halfway towards the season near the playoffs, that's where maybe some of the fans can be brought in. That's where my optimism comes in right there. Yeah. And right now I'm at my last straw with my damn connection because Xfinity sucks. I hope people that are watching this don't have Xfinity because it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. For some reason, my YouTube videos, they upload like it's nothing. But for literally everything else, the connection is just absolutely terrible. That's my.
It's most likely because you're live. That's probably what it is. I'm sure everybody in your house is using something with the internet right now too.
Probably.
Which doesn't help.
It definitely doesn't help.
No.
It's just, and honestly, I think my room is also a dead zone. At some point, my room wants to be a dead zone. And there's my little rant about internet connection right there.
Thank God I changed my phone carrier because I used to have Sprint, and oh my God, I would come in this room and my phone would never connect. I'd have no connection, nothing. I used to hate coming in here. I'd never be in here. Now I got a new phone, switched to Verizon, everything's okay. Or not to Verizon. We switched to what phone carrier do I even have? I don't even know. T-Mobile, that's what it was. Yeah, switched to T-Mobile, and everything's better now, and everybody can call me a jackass because I don't know what phone carrier I have when it says it in the top corner of my phone. But again, Mr. Freeze, that's I'm a nail. Where's your super suit?
And God.
Honey, where's my super suit?
Oh my God, it's just like, and like we keep saying, for people that are listening to this on Apple, Spotify, everything like this is going to get edited out just because you're not going to worry about the freezes and stuff like that.
I'm literally really weird, but it's not going to be in there, so you might just have to suck it up if you listen to it again or whatnot.
Right now, you're seeing the raw reaction to bad internet.
Yeah, the raw reaction. I can't believe that you didn't drop a couple F-bombs because that would have been funny if you did.
That's what I'm good at. I don't curse when I need to. I'm very open with my language off of camera, but when I'm on camera, no, it doesn't happen. That's where I can control myself with. And then Sean once again with the comments. This is great. Freezes equals ratings.
I hope A+ ratings.
Hopefully. So I think for us, this is going to do it for the Fired Up podcast because I'm down to my last temperament with the internet right now. So talked about a lot of great things today. The NHL finally announced their start date. So we have a lot of things to look forward to. Christmas is coming up, and then in a few weeks in time after that, the NHL season is going to start. It's going to be really big right here with the painted lines. We're going to be doing a bunch of live streams. We already do it for the Eagles. The Sixers are starting up in a couple of days, and we're going to be live streaming for the Sixers as well. And also when the Flyers start, you'll be seeing a bunch of live streams on the painted lines here as well. And for the Fired Up podcast, when we get closer towards the start of the season, we're going to be programming the Fired Up podcast to go live weekly here on the Painted Lines, TTP Sports, and Flyers Fan Mania 93. So stay tuned with us for that. So that is going to do it for this episode here at the Fired Up podcast. I'm your host, Amadeo Gracia. He is Chris Mayer. Don't forget to check out the Painted Lines and all of their stuff on Twitter and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to TTP Sports and Flyers Fan Mania 93. And don't forget to check out the Fired Up Podcast merchandise website, as Chris is the walking advertisement for it.
Yeah, look.
Now.
Well, we got the most important thing in the world right now, these things, right? Remember these? Yeah, you still need them, right? We got the hoodie. We got the T-shirts in various different colors, from black to gray to everything. And I already showed the mask. I don't know why I'm picking it up. Got stickers. There's a bunch of stuff. Soon we're going to be getting onesies. That's totally a lie. Can you imagine having a onesie with mine and your face on it? I think I'd punch my own self in the face. But again, no, seriously, we really do appreciate all the support you guys give us with everything. We would not be able to do this, talk with you, 8 people or however many people were in here, be able to have this, anything without you people watching and listening and everything throughout the past season. So we're coming up to our second season here with the FUP, the Fired Up podcast. And again, we really do appreciate you guys. And I know it sounds cliche, but we cannot thank you enough because, again, we would not have any of this without you fine people listening. So, yeah.
Exactly. Thank you to the people that are watching this live stream right now. Thank you to the people that consistently listen to us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast on. Thank you for the Painted Lines for hosting us on this great platform, and it's going to continue to grow and grow. So for this episode of the Fired Up Podcast, I'm your host, Amadeo Gracia. He is Chris Mayer. Everyone here, have a very Merry Christmas. Enjoy your holidays, and we will be back closer to when the season starts. So, and also apologies for the bad internet connection. Apologies for that. So thank you for joining, everyone. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.